welcome to another video, and perfect timing. I wanted to do a video kind of about what I'm thinking about Sony, specifically like going into the future. And as I was starting to get the idea and put this video together, a state of play was announced. So I was like, this is awesome. Perfect timing. I can go ahead and do this and get a video out and talk about kind of my feelings and my thoughts on the PlayStation 5 and just Sony as a whole right now in the industry. So I just got done watching the state of play for February. What is it? February 12th, 2025. I will say right off the bat, as a games showcase, I think it was a good showcase that presented me some games that to be excited about in 2025 and even, probably first half of 2026. As a PlayStation showcase that should be showing me things to really get excited about for the platform that I can only play on a PlayStation. Not a very good showcase, and we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about some of the stuff that was shown. I'll talk about the highlights. I'm not gonna talk about every single game that was shown, but I'm gonna talk about a majority of them, the ones that I thought looked really good, the ones that I think are kind of whatever, because this showcase, I'll say this, it was all over the place. There wasn't really like a great flow to it. It kind of was just like, here's a bunch of trailers. In fact, there was one point of this showcase, I kid you not, the very end, where it literally just felt like they shat out 4 trailers in a row and didn't know which one to pick to end on. And I think Sony picked the one that they ended on, thinking it would have a harder hit for PlayStation fans than it is. Because if you go online, people are not excited about that last game. Let's get into it. Let's talk about everything that was announced at the February 2025 PlayStation Showcase. And of course, the article I'm going to pull these from is going backwards, but I guess that makes sense. So let's start at the very beginning, which this I thought was dumb. I said this to myself before this showcase started. I don't need to see any more of Monster Hunter Wilds. The game's literally out in 2 weeks. We just got off of a beta last weekend. Like, there's nothing more to talk about. They fucking opened with Monster Hunter Wild. Thankfully, they didn't spend a lot of time on it, but here it is. Then they started popping off some interesting things, but again, none of these are exclusive at first, which is they showed a new Shinobi game, Shinobi Art of Vengeance. It's a 2D, beautiful, like gorgeous artwork. But again, it's a game, as I was watching it, I said to myself, this game could totally work on a PS4, and it is announced for both PS4 and PS5. They did also show a new trailer for Sonic Racing, now called Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. No date, but they are going to be doing a beta later this month. I'm hyped for this game. I think it looks awesome. It looks like a return, now that we're seeing gameplay at least, it looks like a return to the transformed era of Sonic Racing, and they're getting away from the team racing game, which is awesome. But again, important to note, this game's on everything. It's not just a PlayStation game. They kind of threw out some other stuff, like WWE 2K25 is going to have a social multiplayer area called The Island. I will probably play WWE 2K25 when they either put it on Plus or it's like $20. And some other little things. And then the first like really big thing that they showed off as a exclusive here was Lost Soul Aside, a game that's been in long development. Finally got a release date of May 30th. I think this game looks really good. It's definitely one that I'm interested in playing. So it is something that I will check out. I'm kind of put on my list. And that was one thing, like after watching this, I finally came off of it and said, okay, there is actually some stuff this year that I'm interested in playing, because right now when I look at stuff that I have reserved and stuff, I don't really have anything major reserved, because, outside of some of the stuff coming to Game Pass, like Avowed and that Claire 13 Expedition 33 game, those are Game Pass games, so it's just really weird. But I was happy to see some stuff kind of fill in the spring here. So, but yeah, that Lost Soul Aside, I think the game looks awesome. And again, these are going to be out of order. Eyes of P Overture is a prequel DLC expansion that you have to own the base Lies of P game. I don't have anything against this because I think that game seemed really cool. It's a game that I should play at some point because I think as a Souls-like game, I probably would really dig it. But it's weird to me that we're going to do DLC for it now, like 2 years later. Really bizarre. It seems too little too late. One of the bigger things they spent a lot of time on here, Borderlands 4, they showed a pretty like chunky gameplay trailer that also they revealed the release date, which is September 23rd. Not shocking. Most Borderlands games have a release of September, so that makes sense. But I don't think this game looks good still. Like, my opinion of Borderlands 4 has not changed since its initial unveiling, and it just, I don't know, man. Like, I could not get into Borderlands 3. I honestly thought it was pretty dreadful, and a lot of it had to do with its just absolutely terrible story, that I could not finish it. And I don't think Borderlands 4 is looking any better. It doesn't even, still, like this trailer, it doesn't look like a next-gen game. It still looks like a last-gen game to me. But it's got a date. There are fans of that franchise that are going to play the game. So Onimusha. It's really weird because a couple weeks ago we had the announcement at that Capcom thing of a remake of Onimusha 2, and that was going to be out this fall. Now today we got the announcement that it will be out in May, which is cool. But Onimusha Way of the Sword, which is the new Onimusha game, which looks awesome by the way, will be out in 2026. So again, and this is the other weird thing about this that for me was frustrating about this showcase, is it still feels like Capcom has this massive hole in fall 2025, and we haven't announced Resident Evil 9 yet. Like, spoiler for the rest of the video, there's no Resident Evil 9 at this showcase. Like, I'm happy Onimusha is getting its due. I like that franchise a lot, and it's time for it to come back. It's been dormant for a very long time, but for fuck's sake, man, like, we know so much about Resident Evil 9 without any of it being confirmed as official that we need to just come out and announce this game. And I still feel like it probably is Capcom's fall 2025 game, but this would have been the perfect place to announce it, and they just totally didn't. It's really weird. They did confirm the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, so that's the remake of Snake Eater. Release date, which is August 28th. We've known that for like 2 weeks now because it got leaked, but we got an official trailer. I still think it looks awesome visually, but it just it's like, it looks awesome visually. I will play it, but I still have this like part of me that's like, going into the game that Kojima had nothing to do with this remake, so it's a little weird. But I want to say at one point in there I saw that there's going to be a Splitgate 2 beta, I think either next week or the week after, which is interesting. I'm still on the fence of, like, I don't think Splitgate 2 looks nearly as good as the original. I don't like that they're taking it in an esports direction, because what really made me love the original, I mean, it was my game of the year, like, 2021, I think. It was a free-to-play game, was my game of the year that year, and I played a lot of Splitgate. But what brought me into that game was its like this feeling of like old school Halo, and it seems like they're dropping that and pushing towards this esports thing that I don't care for. So, but I'm willing to give the beta a try here and see what it's like. They showed that, like I said, there was a plethora of a couple different indie things. A couple things are coming out soon, like the Yakuza Pirate game, which looks awesome. There's a demo coming for that. There's a crossover coming to Dave the Diver that's going to have Ichiban. That looks really cool. That was out, I think it's out in April. Like I said, there was other like smaller things here. They did use this opportunity to finally unveil the next. You really don't need a remaster of this game because you can play it on PS5 at 60 frames. That is the long-rumored Days Gone remastered. What a fucking slap to the face of the developers of Days Gone and fans of that game, because we know they'll never make a sequel to it, but Sony would love nothing more than to cash in on a remaster of that game. That's just not needed. I won't buy it. I won't support it. Because, like, give me a sequel to that game. Give those people the opportunity. That game ended in a way that I would like to see more of that story. And it's insane to me that they won't do it, but they'll put the time and effort to make a remaster. No thanks. The very end of this, like I said, this showcase was really, really weird. They shat out like 3 trailers really fast. And it was one of those, I'm like, okay, is this going to be their one last thing? Is this going to be their one last thing? What's going to be the one last thing? I really thought it would be Ghosts of Yotei because that's supposedly out this year, although I think it's going to get pushed. It was not. So they had like a trio of trailers at the end of this thing. Actually, I think it was 4. The one game that I thought looked really cool, they could have ended on this and I would have been like, all right, it's not the greatest ending, but at least that looks cool, was a game called Tides of Annihilation. This game looks really cool, and I was sold on its premise right away. I am a little tired of post-apocalyptic settings, but I think that everything going on here, it just looked like a really cool action game. So I'm down for that. I thought that game looked cool. A couple of these games that were shown at the end of this were so forgettable that I have to actually look them up and be like, okay. It's called Metal Eden. Yeah, sure, whatever. I wasn't really sold on it, so it was okay. I was more into Tides of Annihilation, but here's the other crazy thing. As I just look, that game's not even exclusive to the PlayStation because now there's an Xbox branded trailer for it. So again, it proves my point of like, this was a good showcase for games. This was a bad showcase for PlayStation exclusive. So there's Metal Eden, Tides of Annihilation. This game that the one game that I thought looks completely fucking unfinished. And that is Mind's Eye. Like I understood the story. It kind of reminded me of like maybe they were going for like a futuristic version of The Getaway. Longtime PlayStation fans will remember that franchise, but it looked bad. Like anytime that they would pull out and show you the actual gameplay and it wasn't a cutscene, it looked unfinished. Like the world that it was in just looked like it was not populated very well with NPCs. Like textures looked like they were missing. Like this game did not look ready for a summer 2025 release. That looked dreadful. And then we got to talk about the end of this thing because it was, for me, it was a wet fart. And that is, of all the things they could have shown, all the things they could have announced, they announced the long rumored next game from House Marquee. Those are the people that made Returnal, and surprise, it's basically just a sequel to Returnal. It's obviously not called Returnal. This game is called Saros. You're playing as they actually said the name, and I'll try to not butcher it, but players will take on the role of Arjun Divraj, who is a powerful Sultarai enforcer searching for answers on a lost off-world colony. It very much is Returnal. It definitely was teasing this, like, you know, you die, you live again, you die, you live again gameplay that Returnal was known for. And I, again, as someone who played Returnal when it launched, I didn't hate that game. I thought it was cool. But this is not, like, Returnal is not a game that I would put up there as like a big first party title to end a showcase on. So to make the quote unquote spiritual sequel to Returnal the big final reveal at your showcase to kick off 2025, not a good choice. And it just kind of bummed me out, man. Like, I wanted something else. Like, I wasn't expecting to see Wolverine here. I'm not expecting to see a new God of War yet. It seems way too soon for that. But I wanted something cooler than just, oh, hey, we're making Returnal again, but it's a dude and it's on a different planet. And that's what I feel like we got. It's like, okay, sure. So, I gotta look here and see if there's any other cool game that I missed that I want to talk about. Yes. One other game I want to talk about, again, not exclusive, but Directive 8020, which is the new game from Supermassive Games, the people that did The Quarry and did the all those dark, what are they called? I keep wanting to say the Dark Brotherhood, but the Dark Pictures anthology. games. That's their new game. It's a science fiction horror this time. It looks awesome. Like, that was one they threw out a date of like October 2nd, and I said, I'm in. Like, we need something for spooky month and to be excited about, and that game looks cool. But again, and that's the point, I want to bring it around here and say, like, at the end of this showcase, when you get all done, not a lot of stuff that you can point to and go, man, it's really cool that I own a PlayStation right now. Like, there wasn't enough for me to pull it in. And if you watch recent episode podcast 572, and if you watch the recent episode podcast 572, you know that I now own a PS5 Pro. And as a owner of the Pro system, not much here is selling me on that fucking system either. Like, it's just, I wanted something to look at and go, okay, I can be excited about this thing. And so we're in this weird place with PlayStation. Like, I feel like the games industry is already in a really weird spot right now. We're in almost what I would call like a transition phase with the industry, because you look on the opposite side of the pond, right? And you look at Microsoft, and a lot of times I can't fucking tell you what they're doing because, well, it's pretty much like they're Sega, but they want to have their own box too, which I don't think in the long run is going to be a strategy that works for them going forward. I think personally, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on podcast 572, but I think that after the next Xbox generation, I think their time of making hardware is over. Because look at the dreadful sales of the Series X and S in 2024. From the numbers we are able to scrape together, it's pitiful. Like, nobody is buying those machines. People are just either playing those games on PC, and now if you're going to release them on your competitor's platform, there's no reason to go and get an Xbox. Like, even myself, someone who's been embedded in the Xbox ecosystem for 20 years this year, I can't in good conscience say, like, I don't know why I would buy an Xbox next time around if I could just play all these games on my PlayStation. Because, yeah, there's still the Game Pass argument, and Game Pass is a very good value. That is true, but at the same time, like, I find myself playing less and less Game Pass games, and when you get down to that point, it's like, well, you know, I could pay for my monthly subscription to Game Pass, or I could just buy the 1 or 2 games I'm going to play and play them on the PlayStation. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward. But again, like, here we are. I do think that we are seeing still an absence of like a really big first party Sony game this fall once again. Again, there's time for that to change. We'll have the E3 time of year where they'll do another state of play. But it also just highlights that nobody wants to announce anything in November or end of October, because everyone is scared to announce something and have Grand Theft Auto 6 say, hey, we're coming out on this date. So that's why you don't see anybody committing to anything between like mid-October to end of November. So I'd say that 6-week period, you're not going to see anybody commit to until GTA plants its flag, if it comes out this fall. I still maintain, I think GTA slips to 2026, but we'll see. With that being said, final letter grade I'm going to give this, like I said, as a game showcase, I think there were a lot of cool things here. Things that I'm interested in playing, I would give it a B-. However, as a PlayStation fan, as a PlayStation owner, as a Pro owner, this easily for me was a D+. Like, we did not show enough. We didn't hammer home the benefits of owning a Pro. We did not show anything that really showcases why you should have that system. And even if you cut those things out, I don't feel they showed enough exclusive stuff that should get me excited to own a PlayStation at all right now. And for those reasons, it's a D+. Like, where was it? Like, I wanted one heavy hitter. I cannot honestly tell you any game I saw here was a heavy hitter. So I don't know, man. We're gonna see what happens in Nintendo's showcase at the end of or at the beginning of April for the Switch 2. But yeah, I'd love to know in the comments below, what did you think of the showcase? Do you think it was good? Do you think it was bad? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.